Hello, my name is Gareth Machin. I am the Artistic Director of Wiltshire Creative, and I am delighted today to be talking all things Panto with three of the brilliant people who are responsible for making the Salisbury Playhouse pantomime such a huge success over the past few years. Nicky Griffiths, our choreographer, Christopher Peake, our musical director and arranger, and James Buttons, our set and costume designer. Welcome, all of you.
Hi.
Chris, can I start with you? It'd just be great to talk a little bit about what you do, because of course people will have seen you in the auditorium as Uncle Chris during the performances, but of course your role begins long before the performances.
Yeah, okay, so I'm the musical director and arranger for the pantomime, and that means I'm basically responsible for all the music in the show. So I guess it begins when we read the script together, and then we do some sort of spotting session where we look at where different songs and different bits of music might go. And then from then I arrange all the music, which means that I work out what all the singers are going to sing, what the band members are going to play, and prepare any of the pre-recorded technical music stuff that we use in the show. Program keyboards, and we use tracks and for some elements. And then I rehearse the music with the cast, and then I perform the music with the company and look after the show once it's up and running, rehearse understudies, and I'm at every single performance as Uncle Chris. You'll recognise that from my head.
With the really important task of deciding who wins the competition.
Yes, the most important job in pantomime: who wins the singing competition in the song sheet.
So you become simultaneously the most hated and most low and
oh, hated and low. Thank you, Gareth. Yeah.
Right. To be fair to him, actually, he's played tonight like he's never played before. Like he's never played before. Right, I'll tell you what. Uncle Chris, or spat on you a bit of perspex, sorry. Who do you think was that? Anything left louder? That lot or that lot? We can now report live from the pit for the first time in Panto history. It was a draw!
And Nicky, if I turn to you now, so in a way your involvement begins sort of a similar point as Chris's in terms of thinking about the songs and the musical material in the show.
Yeah, definitely. So my job involves creating the dance and the sort of the movement language for the show. So yeah, I would say we start fairly similarly. We tend to all have a meeting all together once the script is written, and we all think about the songs, where they're placed, what's happening during the story during those songs. I know lots of times the lyrics get adapted to fit the narrative of the show. So that's where we start, and then we move to auditions where obviously I'm looking for our lovely principals and our ensemble members and see how their dancing is. And then also I'm heavily involved with the young company and auditioning them, joining them in to become part of our show so that we can have these great big huge musical numbers that involve the full company. And we work really hard to make sure the young company and the adult company are all working together, to create lots of fabulous dance numbers.
And of course, your working day when we're rehearsing begins with a warm-up.
Always a warm-up. We like to play a game during warm-up when we do it with the adult company. It's known as send me your playlist. So every cast member sends me 3 songs. I don't announce who it is, and then I'll play the playlist whilst we do our warm-up, always physical, just to get the cardio going, get the energy flowing in the room. And then at the end of it, we all have to guess whose playlist it was.
And James, you have a slightly different process maybe than the other two. Where does it all begin with you?
Normally I start the next panto normally as the one we're just working on is going up. So it's like a constant kind of flow. So we start normally in around January, February, to start conceptualizing what we're going to do. And then I probably spend about, because obviously as we develop the design, also the script is developed at the same time. So we go through quite a lot of process with the script to bring as much as we can design-wise to help tell the story as well. then it's doing all the model making, and obviously with pantomime, that's quite a big job, because most of the plays and most of the shows that I would design outside of pantomime, it's generally a lot smaller set, but with pantomime, every scene has a different set and a different kind of problem to solve or special effects to include.
I'm hungry. I want an appetizer. Get me one of those things on sticks.
You mean a kebab?
No, a pensioner.
We have to work out what those effects are, and then of course we have to build a world that will then make those effects possible. So it's quite a lot. It's a longer process than sort of, I guess, a sort of straight piece of theatre. It's sort of up there in musicals, really. Like there's just a lot. The process is a lot longer. And then once we've done that and the costume designs, normally about 6 months before we open, we will start buying fabrics. Like with pantomime, we don't go and shop for it. We have to make everything. So there's a good 2 to 3 weeks of just buying fabrics, and that's a long. It's quite a long process, because there can be up to sort of 700 different fabrics in one show, and we have to make sure that each one works with the next one, so all the characters work well together. And so it's quite a long process, and and then at the same time as that, about 6 months before all the sets, they start building all the sets. So I'm constantly getting pieces of scenery that have been made or painted and sent from about June onwards. Slowly but surely, bits of set and are built. And we and then with the young company, we fit them quite early on. So in September, we start fitting the young company's costumes. So it's a long. The difference in pantomime, I guess, is it's a lot longer process. We start work on it a lot earlier because of the scale of it.
So, of course, James, you've got to work with all of our brilliant in-house team at the Playhouse as well, in terms of the workshops and the wardrobe department. It's always a really big support, actually, because once we get, a lot of the times when we've done the designs, really we have a wish list, but it's not ever, we never know exactly how things will happen, and so we rely really heavily on the team to bring their ideas and thoughts to the table. And I guess it's one of the great things about Panto is that the build-up in the building, you can really feel it. You can feel the anticipation in the building, and that goes with all the front of house stuff as well. And in the build-up towards the show opening, the corridors slowly but surely fill up with glitter. It's like the Panto smell has been going around the corridors. And it's sort of, people really feel part of it, and the whole building sort of like feels it's part of their sort of their thing, and it's a really lovely feeling, actually. I think. Nicky, James was talking a little bit about how Panto is different from other shows, just in terms of the scale of it. Are there other ways in which Panto is different than, say, working on a conventional musical?
Yeah, I suppose there's the Panto traditions. That's the big thing for me, which you have to keep hold of them. It's what people want. Traditionally in a musical, you would never sort of break the fourth wall and talk to the audience, yet it's the first thing that every Panto actor does. As they come on stage, they introduce themselves. They get that rapport going with the audience, and for me that's the exciting part. That's the part where perhaps Panto might be a young person's first visit to a theatre, and so to feel so included by the actors and feel like they can respond, that they can shout out, they can get involved, that for me is the biggest difference between Panto and a traditional musical. I mean, I certainly feel that at Salisbury, we work really hard to make the production feel like a musical theatre production. So the stories and the song tells the narrative still. Everything's involved together, the set, the music, the script, the dancing, everything becomes one, like it would be in a musical. But I find it so exciting when I see young people watching a show for the first time. My favourite day is that first day we open up the theatre and we all sit in the back row across the back with our notepads, all scared,
Terrified.
literally terrified, and you watch all the young people pour in and you hope that they're going to understand, that they're going to connect with it, and then when they do, it's just the most joyful experience watching people of all ages, from 2-3 years old through to much older, just respond and react and connect with the actors on stage.
So what's different about your job, Chris, when you're working on a pantomime as opposed to a musical?
So I suppose working on a pantomime is similar to a big musical production, really. One of the differences is the amount of time we put it together. So we get in rehearsal, correct me if I'm wrong, we get 3 weeks in total. Well, is that including tech? So we get, basically it's a week per act. We tend to start at the beginning, try and get through Act 1 in a week, which never happens. And then we start Act 2 in week 2. And we do quite long days, don't we? We start in the morning with the adult company, and then the young company join us in the evening after school, and we continue rehearsing to the evening. And then sometimes I then have to do band rehearsals after that even, so they tend to be long days. Yeah.
They are long days. I mean, and I suppose, Salisbury's been so lucky that all three of you have come back, for several years, and you clearly all love Panto. So, Nicky, what do you think makes a good Panto?
For me, what makes a good Panto is definitely a good story, but it's that hero or heroine, that kind of lead character that everybody wants to connect with, and also then their fellow characters around them, the funny characters, so that whoever you are in the audience, you feel you can connect with someone on that stage. It's so important that as a whole family, you laugh, and as a whole family, you connect with what's being told on that story. I love seeing the generations all sat together, laughing and howling together at what's happening. So for me, a good Panto has got to be funny, good characters, particularly that hero or heroine that everyone can connect with.
James, what do you think? What do you look for in a good Panto?
Yeah, all of those things, but particularly a villain who is like we all love, and I think that's really key to where we love to hate the villain, and so I find generally a lot of the campness come from the villain.
I guess you've all come here to honour the great Sheriff of Nottingham, huh? What? You never seen a sexy sheriff before? You're a generic band member. Oh, yeah! Think of me a sexy sheriff, hey?
And I think that's part of a long design process, as well as making sure that evil is not dark. And I think that's really important, that in a pantomime, that evil is it serves a bigger purpose in bringing so much humour and allowing loads of humour to happen. And all of that, and silliness, allowing room for silliness is so important. And
when you go and see other people's pantomimes, James, just in terms of the visual, what are you hoping to see?
I'm hoping to see magic, and I think that's one of the things that I really like. I guess one of the things I remember was the magic when I used to go and see pantomime when I was younger, and so I want to be surprised by the magic, and that's quite often not necessarily anything too complicated. It's just I want to feel that magic, and I want to go, how did they do that? How did that happen? and to you know, and that all goes, like, you know, that's all part of the amazing world that's going on with the choreography and the music, and then suddenly something happens, you know, and you know, it's surprise, I guess. It's surprise and feeling, you know, feeling like I've seen something I've not expected, I guess.
And Chris, what do you look for in a good panto?
I think it's a good audience. I think it's one of the most important elements. I think it's fantastic that sometimes we have audience members that come year after year, sometimes sitting on the same seats on the same date each Christmas. And I think they genuinely become players in the story as well. And that's one of the most special elements of pantomime. We couldn't do it without a great crowd.
Yeah, a vocal crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing just to add from me that I certainly think you look for in a good panto, and I think Salisbury just do so brilliantly, is to have their female lead be a really strong, independent woman.
No rule to say a girl, man, can't walk through the forest. I can enter if I please.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I might have something to say about that.
I might have something to say about it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
I feel quite strongly about showing that, and every time I've ever worked on the panto at Salisbury, whoever our female lead is so strong and powerful and stands up to the villain or whatever's happening, and I just think that's so important for young people to be seeing in the audience. A little political standpoint there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think the only thing I'd add is it's something that I always remember Ryan McBride saying to me. Ryan has directed many of our pantomimes, obviously worked with the three of you, and he always said that he was trying to create a show that played to that Saturday night television audience, who every member of the family could sit down and get the same things out of it, but also different things out of it. That it is genuinely something that the whole family could respond to, because there's so few opportunities for families to genuinely all enjoy the same experience, and I think that's what's been so brilliant about the Salisbury Pantomime over the past few years, is it's absolutely achieved that. I mean, if I think back over the last few years and think of all the, you know, the amazing pantos that you've created, I mean, there are so many moments that kind of come to me as, you know I will never forget them, whether it's, you know, flying carpets or transformation scenes or whatever. But I mean, what's your favorite panto memory? Chris, can I start with you?
Sure. Well, it's got to be Bohemian Rhapsody, isn't it? Really, one of the best songs ever written. So, end of Act One, Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack's climbing up the beanstalk towards the giant in the sky, and we have this parody of Bohemian Rhapsody with funny lyrics and the entire company involved, and Morris dancing, I think, in handkerchiefs and all sorts of crazy stuff, and Luke, our guitarist, rocking out the solo. Yeah, it's a really special memory.
I remember the handkerchief Morris dancing moment happening in rehearsals and us just crying with laughter. We couldn't get through like creating it, so absolutely howling with laughter the whole time.
My favourite memory in that Bohemian Rhapsody sequence was when Jack crossed the stage with his little carry-on suitcase on carry on. I just thought that was a little moment of genius that I still laugh at now when I think about it.
And actually, that came in very late. I remember having a rehearsal note, like probably a week before we opened, saying we need a green suitcase for this moment. I remember going, why?
Well, you spend hours in the rehearsal room thinking, is this funny? Is this just funny for us, or is this funny for other people? No, it was definitely funny for other people.
So Bohemian Rhapsody, great panto moment. James, what's your favourite?
Actually, sort of one of mine, sort of, because it's costume related, came in Act 2 of Jack and the Beanstalk, and it's when we had the Dame and the comedy act dressing up as the kids.
Yes.
And I think the first time we ever saw this, it was just so hilariously funny, because obviously the costumes weren't quite ready, and it all went a little bit wrong, and the legs popped out of so they were basically on their knees and they had like boots, attached to their knees, and the legs all came out, and but because it was so silly and it kind of went so wrong, it was so hilarious, and it kind of all then kept in, and I just, that probably is one of the funniest sort of moments that I can think of, that just pops into my head right now. But yeah.
What about you?
I think I love the end of Act Ones. They're always my favourite moments of the show. Actually, well, to be fair, I love them equally to the finale. The finale always has a special moment for me, that just the whole cast come together, the audience get up, it's always a banging tune and everyone has a dance. But a particular moment that I recall creating was the end of Act One Thriller of Beauty and the Beast. And a similar kind of rehearsal process of making the decision that we were going to create zombies, and all of a sudden we were going to make them do the Thriller dance, which they started, and then that descended into Irish dancing. And I remember again the rehearsal process of creating that, and Chris playing some Irish sort of river dance music, and me madly going through sort of all these crazy dance moves with Ryan, the director, and saying, which one's funny? Which one looks the funniest to do? And I was picking out all the different moves. Just so much joy and such laughter. But then as that moment ended and the audience were in stitches, the Beast appears on and he swoops up Beauty and he walks to the back of the stage, and everyone just has that little heart break moment, and romance kills, like absolutely finishes off Act One. Oh, I always loved that bit. It felt so magical.
I mean, we've touched upon just how big and complicated pantomimes are, which means there's also therefore plenty of potential for things to go wrong. So let me change the question and ask you about the most embarrassing pantomime moments you can think of. The things when things have not quite worked out the way that they should have done. Who'd like to start?
I mean, I can think of one. I maybe shouldn't say this.
If we can anonymise it as much as possible.
I'm not sure it's entirely capable of anonymising. Well, there's two little thoughts. I'll see which you prefer. My favourite is always the big moments, Beast transformation, beanstalk dropping, when they just don't quite go right. And it happens, it's the joy of live theatre, and it just makes me laugh. I'm sorry, I'm that inappropriate person in the audience that when it just goes wrong, that just bursts into fits of laughter. And for me, I do think that the audience love being part of something going horribly wrong. It's joyful, it's the part of live theatre that we all secretly want to see, because then you think a lot, along with the audience, that you've been in on something together. But we did create a rather lovely moment that happened actually because it all went wrong. The curtain was supposed to rise. This was in Beauty and the Beast, after Monsieur Marzipan had drank the poison. That was the moment. Monsieur Marzipan had drunken the poison, and we needed to get him off stage, and we realised we couldn't get him off the stage. So we sort of lifted the curtain up to let him go. But as this was happening during rehearsals, half the techies were on stage. So we just decided to embrace that moment, lift the curtain up, catch all the technicians mid-stage move, and then freeze, and then run off. And I loved that moment because it came from a place of genuinely it happened, which we then decided to embrace and include in every show from then on.
Yeah, I think there's a moment with trapdoors that something's gone wrong, and we've continued to put it into the show with a sound effect of a sort of so we, when things haven't happened quite as swiftly as you want, but they work out quite well.
Yeah.
And any moment you can think of, Chris?
I've got a moment that's actually from Windsor, but many years ago. I was doing a pantomime at another theatre, Windsor Theatre Royal, and then song sheet there, we used to have young members of the audience come up onto stage to sing the song sheet. So joined with the actor on stage, and I think we were doing Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and at one performance, a young member of the audience came, and it was his birthday, so he got through the song sheet. He wasn't looking particularly happy all the way through, and managed to get to the end, and then promptly vomited all over the stage and all over my face. And then straight on into the walk down. The show must go on.
Wow.
Not sure that's a story for sharing with the with the people of Salisbury, but it's stuck in my memory.
Stuck in anyone's memory.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to finish off, it would be great to know which is your favourite panto title, and why.
Oh, they're all great, aren't they? I suppose Cinderella is one of the most magical ones, but just the story's fantastic, and there's lots of magical elements, and that plays into one of the things that Nicky was saying is great about pantomime as well. The transformation at the end of Act 1 with the horse and carriage and going to the ball and lots of lovely costumes. Yeah, Cinderella, one of my favourites.
Right, Nicky?
I think Jack and the Beanstalk will always have a sort of special place in my heart. I love the hero stories, whether it's a male or female hero. That it's like a quest, someone trying to, find and. I love that it starts that he's sort of the silly Billy character. He's kind of the comedy idiot, and he slowly becomes the hero of the piece. And I love his journey. But I can't deny I have a special place for Robin Hood as well, the last one that we did, just to see, particularly for me from the young company's perspective. We had so many boys come and want to be part of Panto because they wanted to be part of Robin Hood and that cool story. And I loved that connected to boys that wanted to be part of musicals and part of Panto as well. So that has a special place for a different reason.
Yeah.
James, what about you?
Yeah, I guess with the magic quality, like Cinderella is brilliant because that is all about magic. And that's, for me, the design-wise, that's such a great challenge. And Jack and the Beanstalk, because of what happens at the end of Act 1 when you've got, it's literally like you are being transported on a journey to another world. And for me, design-wise, that show is really exciting to design because it's not, you're going from one world to another and going to the land of the clouds and the world below. That's really fun for me. Just selfishly as a designer, it's really fun to have a two-world challenge. So yeah, I guess those two are particular favourites. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
I feel like all our stories end like that, and yes.
So one final question, just to finish with. I'd like you all to tell us your favourite song from Panto, and you can't have Bohemian Rhapsody because we've already given that lots of deserved airtime. So apart from Bohemian Rhapsody, which is your favourite Panto song? James?
Oh, it's got to be the song sheet.
Yeah.
Which particular song sheet?
I'm joking. the song that like goes around and around, for months and months afterwards. And they normally are generally like the walk downs because they are always so uplifting and they're all great. The walk down songs.
Yeah.
Right, Nicky. What about you?
I would say it's got to be Robin Hood opener, Let Me Entertain You. That was such an amazing way to open a show. And I mean, firstly, so much fun to create. How you just can't have so much fun building that number. And just to see the end result, with our lead man in the front, with his merry men there, and all the ensemble dancing, it just felt like such a power tune. I love that number. It was great.
Fab. Chris, what about you?
I agree with all of those. I think one of my favourites was the opening of Beauty and the Beast, and we did Don't Stop Believing, but we did this lovely sort of magical take on it. It was kind of like a stripped down acoustic vibe, and it just really summed up the magical vibe of that show. Love that song.
Brilliant. Look, Nicky, James, Chris, thank you so much for your time. Lovely talking to you, and can't wait to see you back in Salisbury and making the next brilliant pantomime.
Looking forward to it.
Bye.
Bye.